It's a beautiful spring day today, and if you're anything like me, you've started using the water outside a little bit. Maybe the hose, maybe the sprinklers, maybe a drip system. And unless you live in a very specific area of the country that never really gets cold during the winter, you probably haven't used these watering devices in a long time, and you probably have some leaks. Today I want to show you two of the most common leaks that you probably have in your lawn, your garden system already. Both of these are very easy fixes, and they cost almost no money. You should get them done and then brag about it to your spouse. Now, the meat of this video has to do with what you see back there, the spigot. Most modern houses have anti-siphon valves built right into their spigots. And what many people don't even realize is that the siphon valve itself, like the functioning part that keeps water from backing up out of your hose into your house, is made of plastic. So what tends to be common practice is somewhere around mid to late fall, people start taking their hoses off and winterizing their spigots. They take their hose into the garage, but they don't do anything to the spigot itself. Sometimes they'll put like one of those little like styrofoam covers on it, and it just goes through the winter unused because not everybody uses their spigot during the winter. By springtime, however, we start like growing flowers and, turning our irrigation system on and cleaning our car, all of the various things that we use our water for. So we put a hose out here, but we haven't really done anything to that spigot in a while. And during the early parts of spring, we're still going through freeze and thaw cycles. And it is very common for that plastic bit that gets older and older with every passing year to start getting hairline cracks in it with that freeze and thaw cycle. If you have not done anything to your anti-siphon valve in a very long time or ever, then you probably have a small leak in it, some sort of hairline crack or some sort of larger crack. Mine, for instance, we went through another round of freeze thaw cycles about a week ago. I came out here one morning when it was 45 degrees, late morning, but we had frozen overnight, and I turned my faucet on and it exploded. Water's going everywhere. Now, I can still use the hose, but it's a huge waste of water when I turn it on. What needs to happen is not replacing the entire spigot or the hose bib. It's just the siphon valve. That plastic bit finally failed on me. Now, chances are very good that I had a small leak in it last year and I never even really noticed it. So I'm going to show you how you can tell if you have a leak or not. All right, now to find out if this thing is leaking at all, I like to actually remove the hose completely and cap it. So when you get like a sprinkler that has a pass-through, they usually come with these little caps, or maybe you own one yourself. You could use a little pressure gauge, some way to cap it so that all of the pressure is trapped right at the spigot. So we're going to undo that. We're going to take our cap and make sure that we've got a good gasket in there. That's actually the other leak step that I have for you guys. When you run off to the store and you buy a new siphon valve repair kit thing, pick up, let's call them high-end gaskets, hose gaskets. They tend to be much better quality than the ones that come with like sprinklers or, nozzles. They always come with these little things in here. And the gaskets that they come with tend to be a little bit lower quality. But anyway, use a good gasket, plug it, and then you're going to go ahead and just turn it on, and you're waiting to see if any moisture comes out of the top at all. Now, the smaller your crack is, the smaller your leak is, the more of a dribble or a barely there wetness is going to be there. You could put this thing on and leave it on for 10 minutes or so and then come back and see if you can find any moisture coming out of the top at all. And if there's none, then that's great. But if there's any moisture whatsoever at the top, then that means that you have a leak in your siphon valve, and that leak at any point could get significantly larger. Now, if you do have a leak up here, you need to know that there are different brands and they're not all universal fit. They're pretty close. The best situation is to really take a look at what you've got, pop your thing off, and take it to the store so that you can get an exact match. But all of them have this little cap that you can just kind of pry off. Now, underneath, the whole thing is supposed to look like this. When I pried it off earlier today, it actually broke off and there's some damage to the inside. That's what we're going to be replacing. So we'll just unscrew this. Now I'm gonna have to get a tool, otherwise I'm gonna rip my finger. Now this thing could be damaged in any number of ways. You could get some cracking through the body of it. In this case, it looks like the damage is right in the middle, the actual plug. And when you take that apart, somehow or other, the gasket got all wonky inside of the little socket doodad here, and it stopped stopping water. But just as easily, there could be a crack through the middle, allowing water to escape even with the gasket in place. Gasket actually doesn't look that bad on this side, but that side, that does look like there's quite a bit of maybe hard water staining buildup on there. So it makes perfect sense to replace this anyway. All right, now to replace it, we're basically just taking our identical piece that we matched up at the local, I really do recommend this, going to a local hardware store or a local plumbing supply store. You can literally see these things with your own eyes. Also, they tend to be cheaper. While you're there, buy new fancy gaskets. This is tip number 2. This is like the side tip compared to the valve here. Buy a whole bunch of these things, because all of your gaskets that you used last year they're just not going to perform as well this year. A lot of areas around your property are going to be leaking, like at handles where hoses join together. Over in my garden bed, I've got drip systems set up, soaker hoses. All of these gaskets are going to get switched out. This thing, I don't know, there's like 12 of them on this ring, and I paid $1.49. Drop in the bucket.
I just want to see you do this.
You want me to see me do it? Okay, here. Come on over here. Sit down. Sit down right there.
I want to see you fix.
Sure. Yeah, just don't get any closer. Otherwise, you're going to be blocking the shot here. So anyway, so we take the thing, just pop it open. There's little instructions probably on the back of whichever part that you grab. But the important thing to remember is this thing in the middle is what actually does the job. There's a little plunger there, and it's a little bit different from the one that I just took off. But it goes up and down, and that's what stops water from, that's what allows water to only go in one direction. Let's put it like that. And then to install this, the best thing to do is to just put this little thing with the gasket side up right in there. Then stick that over the top and screw it in. And the thing to remember here is this is just plastic. It's just a cheap piece of plastic, and the gaskets in this thing are actually not very robust. So this is a job that you really should kind of throw onto your maintenance list for once every few years or so, just to come out and take a look at it. I'm going to make sure it's tight enough to compress the gasket, but not overly tight. And that's it. And now once you get this cap back on the bottom to get full pressure, once you turn this spigot on, everything should be completely dry. That was actually funny. You could actually see a tiny little squirt out as the gasket sealed, but now it's completely dry. So then you just put your cap and just snap it back into place, and you're good to go. You have no leaks. Now at this point, since I just came from my plumbing supply store and I picked up these premium cheap gaskets, this whole thing, like I said, was $1.49. I'm going to go walk around my entire property and find all of my nozzles and my hoses, take all of the old gaskets from last year out, because this thing right here is just warped. It's just not good anymore. It might hold most of the water, but this thing is going to leak, especially if I try to go a whole nother season with it. I'm going to swap all of the gaskets out for these new ones and plan on completely replacing all of my gaskets every single year, because it's really the best way to ensure that we don't have leaks in any parts of the pipes and the systems. Now I know this is just a generic repair tutorial here on how to fix and repair this siphon valve, anti-siphon valve. Even if you don't have like a gushing leak, this is a worthwhile task. It will save you water, and it'll save your foundation, quite honestly. If you also care about not wasting so much water when you're actually watering the lawn, then make sure to watch this video that I have linked right up here, which this is all about how to waste as little water as possible while watering your lawn. Use your local hardware stores. You're going to save money shopping there, and you'll be able to touch things and feel for quality. And when it comes to matching up products, you'll be able to find exactly the right ones when you're looking at them with your own eyes.